Hello everybody. Welcome to my Yawgmoth Thran Physician deck. I'll just read him out real quick. So he's 4 mana for a 2/4, and he has protection from humans, and I can pay a life, and I can sack a creature and put a -1/-1 counter on one target creature, and then I draw a card. So this is a great deck. I'm going to turn it into kind of like an aristocrats-based deck. Hope you enjoy. So the first 3 cards are like if a creature I control dies, target player loses 1 life and I gain a life. But Zulaport Cutthroat is just a little different, but because I have to, because it actually does it to each opponent, not just the target opponent. So these are all great cards in an aristocrats-based deck, and yeah, so they're super good. The next card that I have in here is similar to the other 3 cards. So it's whenever a creature I control dies, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and I gain a life. The next card is Black Market. So this is 5 mana for an enchantment, and whenever a creature dies, put a charge counter on it. And then at the beginning of my pre-combat phase, I add black to my mana pool for each charge counter on Black Market. So this is a great card, especially in an Aristocrats deck. So the next card is Butcher of Malakir. So it's 7 mana for a 5/4, and whenever a creature I control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. So what I want to try and do with this card is make it so my opponents can't have any creatures on the battlefield. So this is always a good card to have. The next card is Nest of Scarabs. So this has an extremely powerful synergy with Yawgmoth, because if I use his ability to put a -1/-1 counter on a creature I control, I also create a 1/1 black insect, which I can sack, put a -1/-1 counter on it, and then draw a card and make another insect. So I can just pay a life and draw a card, which is amazing. So the next card is Bloodghast. So 2 mana for a 2/1. It can't block. If I have 10, as long as an opponent has 10 or less life, he has haste. But he has landfall. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under my control, if I have Bloodghast in the graveyard, I can bring him back to the battlefield, which is a great card. The next card is Necroskitter. So it's 3 mana for a card with Wither. So it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters, and whenever a creature an opponent controls with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, I can return that card to the battlefield under my control. So if I can do something like Butcher of Malakir and Necroskitter, I can just slowly take out their board, and it comes back to me, which is always great. The next card is Doomed Dissenter. So I can sacrifice this guy, and when he dies, I create a 2/2 zombie, which then I can sacrifice, and it's very good. The next card is Villainous Broker of Blood. To me, this is kind of like a staple card, but also it has great synergy with the Yawgmoth, because with his ability, you need to pay 1 life. So it's pay 1 life, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, and put a -1/-1 counter on something, which is very good. The next card is Gravecrawler. So it's 1 mana for a 2/1, and I can cast it from my graveyard as long as I control zombie, and it can't block. The next card is Dreadhorde Invasion. So at the beginning of my upkeep, I lose a life and amass 1. So this is great because every turn I have a free card that I can sacrifice, or I can try and leave it for a while to turn it into a 6/6, and it will then have lifelink, which is really good. The next one is Solemn Simulacrum, which is also known as Sad Robot. 4 mana for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, search my library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle my library. And when he dies, which I can just kill with Yawgmoth, I draw a card. The next card is Liliana Dreadhorde General. 6 mana for a 6 loyalty planeswalker. And whenever a creature I control dies, draw a card. And then I can +1 her and create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And I can -4 her. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures. And I can -9 her. And each opponent chooses the permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. This is really good. Sorry, each opponent, if I said that. Pawn of Ulamog, 3 mana for a 2/2. Whenever Pawn of Ulamog or another non-token creature I control dies, I can create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token, and it has sacrifice this creature, add colorless to your mana pool. The next card is Endrick Sar, Master Breeder, 5 mana for a 2/2. Whenever I cast a creature spell, put X 1/1 black Thrall creature tokens onto the battlefield, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. And then his other ability is when I control 7 or more Thralls, sacrifice Endrick Sar, Master Breeder. So this, I can just sacrifice all the Thralls so he will never die, hopefully. Unless I run out of life, but that's very unlikely. The next card is Grave Pact. 4 mana. Whenever a creature I control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each other player sacrifices a creature. So sadly, this doesn't work with tokens because they have to enter the graveyard, but it's still a very powerful card. The next card is God Eternal Bontu. It's 5 mana for a 5/6 with Menace, and I really like this card because when he enters the battlefield, I sacrifice any number of other permanents and then draw that many cards. And then he has the ability that most of the zombie gods have. Whenever he dies, put it into exile, and I can put it third from the top of the library. So, whenever he dies or is put into exile, so I can actually sacrifice him as well if I want to keep on triggering his ability. So, Ogre Slumlord is the next card, 5 mana for a 3/3, and whenever a non-token creature dies, I put a 1/1 black rat creature token onto the battlefield, and rats I control have Death Touch. So this is a very good card, and it can create a lot of rats. The next card is Phyrexian Altar, 3 mana for an artifact, and I can sacrifice the creature and add 1 mana of any color. So this really helps if I need to ramp up, say, to Yawgmoth on turn 3, something like that. I do that and I sack 4 creatures. I get Yawgmoth, something like that. It's all very good. The next card is Bolas's Citadel. So I can look at the top card of my library at any time, and I can cast it, but I lose life equal to its converted mana cost, rather than paying its converted mana cost. And I can tap it and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, and each opponent loses 10 life. So this is a very big powerhouse of a card, and it's a really good card in the deck. The next card is Ashnod's Altar. So it's 3 mana for an artifact, and I can sacrifice a creature and add 2 colorless mana to my mana pool. The next card is Bitter Blossom. So it's 2 mana for tribal enchantment for fairies, and at the beginning of my upkeep, I lose 1 life and create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. So this is very good because it's free sacrifice fodder, and it's really good. The next card is Ugin the Inevitable. 6 mana, colorless spells cost 2 less to cast. He's mostly good because of his +1 ability, because he creates creatures that I can sacrifice, and then his ability makes it so it's kind of like drawing 2 cards. Well, basically is. And then his -3 is destroy target permanent that's 1 or more colors. Then Open the Graves is a 5 mana enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So that's very good, and it can create a lot of zombies really quickly. The next card is Liliana Death's Majesty. So this is 5 mana for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. Her +1 is create a 2/2 black zombie creature token and put the top 2 cards of my library into my graveyard. Her -3 is return target creature from my graveyard to the battlefield. But that creature is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. And then her -7 is to destroy all non-zombie creatures. So that's a very good card. The next card is Harvester Souls. So it's 6 mana for a 5/5 Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature dies, I can draw a card. Then there's Culling of the Weak. So it's 1 mana for a mana source, and I can sacrifice a creature and add 4 black to my mana pool. I don't know why this card is legal, and I don't even know if it is legal. But, yeah. So then there's Hell's Caretaker. So it's 4 mana for a 1/1. I can tap it and sack a creature, and return target creature from my graveyard to the battlefield, and I can activate this ability only during my upkeep. Another great card. The next card is Hangerback Walker. So it's XX, that's his mana cost. And so it enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it, and when it dies, I create 1/1 Thopters. I put 1/1 Thopters on the battlefield for each +1 counter on Hangerback Walker. I can pay 1 and tap it, Hangerback Walker, to put a 1/1 counter on it. Then there's Calitus, Trader of Get. So for 4 mana, a 3/4 with lifelink. And if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile that card and put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So it's very good. And then I can sacrifice another vampire or zombie and then put 2/2 1/1 counters, +1/+1 counters on him. So the next card is Kakusha, the Evening Star, 6 mana for a 5/5. And whenever it dies, each opponent loses 5 life, and I gain life equal to the life lost this way. So basically, it's each opponent loses 5 life, you gain 15 life. That's basically how it is if you're playing it in Commander. So the next card is Nirkana Revenant. So it's 6 mana for a 4/4. Whenever I tap a swamp for mana, add an additional swamp. So that's very good because it's a mana doubler, and that doesn't usually come in black. So then there's Shieldred Whispering one. 6 mana or 7 mana for a 6/6 with Swamp Walk, and at the beginning of my upkeep, I can return target creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. And then at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. The next card is Burnished Heart. So it's 3 mana for a 2/2. I can pay 3, sack it, and search my deck for 2 basics, and then put them onto the battlefield. The next card is Jet Medallion. So black spells cost 1 less to cast, 2 mana. Then there's Pitless Plunder, 4 mana for a 1/4. Whenever a creature I control dies, create a treasure. The next card is Skull Clamp. So it's 1 mana for equipped creature gets +1/-1, and whenever an equipped creature the equipped creature dies, I draw 2 cards, and its equip cost is 1. So this is great because I can get a lot of card advantage off of it. The next one is Grim Haruspex, 3 mana for a 3/2 with Morph, and then whenever a non-token creature I control dies, I draw a card. The next card on my list is 3 mana for a 2/2. It's called Ophiniomancer, and then at the beginning of each upkeep, if I control no snakes, put a 1/1 black snake creature token with Death Touch onto the battlefield. So this is a great card in my deck. Next one is Crick, Son of Yawgmoth. So 7 mana, 3 of it being Phyrexian, and it has a lifelink. For each black mana in a cost, you may pay 2 life rather than pay the mana. Whenever you cast a black spell, put a 1/1 counter on him. This is another great card. So that's the end of my deck tech. I hope you guys really enjoyed, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay, bye.